the greatest debate in football history. Not Ronaldo v Messi, because that's not a debate, it's obviously Messi, but glory hunters versus local die-hard fans. If you go on anywhere, on any platform, TikTok, Instagram, especially Twitter, these are the two great Goliaths of the community, which if you go against one side of the community, then you are labelled every name under the sun. Now, to be specific, what is a glory hunter? A glory hunter is a person, a man or woman or dog, whatever, that pretty much chooses to support a football team based on them basically being quite decent. Now, there's reasons behind this which I think goes in their favour and why I don't really blame them, but let's give an example to make it easy to understand. Number one, let's say that you are someone from America, right? Now, you may say, well, there's quite a lot of teams in America in the MLS. If you've heard of it, why not support a team in the MLS? You could support a team in MLS, and the odds are they possibly do. However, if you forgot, you can't really go on away days in America because, I mean, just to go down the road, down the shops, is like a 2-hour drive. And unless they live in the city of where their nearest MLS team is, that can in itself be probably 1 to 2 hours drive. And the most easily and most accessible and biggest league in the world is the Premier League. Hence why most people pick a Premier League team ahead of any other team in the world, other than potentially Real Madrid or Barcelona. So what you find is that someone may have an MLS team, but they also have their Premier League team. Now you may be like, wait, but why don't you support, I don't know, QPR or Coventry City? Well, why would they? They could barely even watch their games. I've always kept to the idea that if you're someone that lives outside the UK and you support a Premier League team, I don't really care too much, as long as the team you support is a team that you support and you don't switch. However, if you're someone that, let's say, supports Manchester United and they've been sucking for quite a while now, that you decide to now just be a Chelsea fan or Arsenal fan or a Liverpool fan, no offense, mate, but you suck. But you know what, the way that I always see it is that they probably just don't care that much about football. And if you're from a country that doesn't care about football that much, somewhere in Asia or in Africa or in many parts of Europe that hasn't really got a proper, really good league, yeah, I get it. Or Australia, for example, I can get it. However, if you switch teams, then I think that's bit weird. I'm going to show you a famous clip that made the rounds a million times and I think is important to showcase here with the issue with fans like this in the UK.
I saw QPR fans today and I was thinking to myself, why do people support? I would love to have a conversation with QPR fans to actually understand why these men support these teams.
It might be controversial, but I don't think you can proper be into football and like only support that team. You've got to have like a Premier League team, someone that you enjoy in the Premier or something like that. Otherwise,
Oh yeah, 100%.
it's like, I can't be Accrington Stanley fan. It's the truth though.
No, but it's facts, because abroad that's what happens. They have their normal team, but then they all support like
In
a Real
Spain,
Madrid
bro,
or
like,
Barca.
if someone's an Elche fan, they're either Barcelona or Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this made the rounds, and I don't really want to just sit here and just dunk on these guys' heads all day. But this is the mentality of quite a lot of top six fans, especially if they're top six fans that, let's be honest, don't really care that much about football in the same way. But let's say if they do care about football in the same way, it's still a stupid thing to say. This isn't just a UK thing. Germany is, of course, amazing for this, for teams in the second, third, even fourth tier, having great crowds from teams, from fans in the local community going to the games. But let's give the UK as an example. As a Burnley fan, born in Burnley, raised 5 minutes from Burnley, I'm a Burnley fan. I could have been a United fan. My oldest brother is a United fan, and I decided no because I wanted to go to games. I knew that at a young age, of even 8. I even had a time period that I even was maybe even close to maybe even being a Liverpool fan because my favourite player was Fernando Torres, and my best friend at the time was a Liverpool fan. So I always went to his house midweek and watched Champions League matches with him and his family. Now, I enjoyed that by no means, but I still wanted to go to games. So I went to Burnley games. And I'm a Burnley fan, and I have been since 2005, 2006, my first game going to Turf Moor. And this is the case for thousands upon thousands of people in the country. However, in my primary school, there was still a lot of kids that was Liverpool fans, or United fans, or even Arsenal fans, because this, of course, in mid-2000s. This is, of course, Thierry Henry at Arsenal, Ronaldo at United, and Steven Gerrard and the sorts at Liverpool. Just won Istanbul 2005. Most people want to be the fans of the big clubs because they're in the Champions League. They're winning the big trophies. You want to be a part of that. And that's the dangerous part about it because people think like that. And what this guy said is true to how a lot of people feel, is that you can't really be a football fan if you are never even involved in those conversations. You're never in a Champions League. You're never even challenged for any trophies. What's the point of football for you? Because it's just sad. And yes, I mean, if you're, let's say, a fan of a team in League 1, League 2, you're a Crawley Town fan or something, or Crewe Alexandra fan, no offence if you support those clubs, you may say, well, what's the point? What's the point of spending every other weekend going to the games and then spending your money when you know it's not really going to lead to anything exciting ever? And that is the mentality of a lot of people. Of course, what they would say, and what I would say, because I support my local team, is that that's where I'm from. There's pride, there's a feeling of being part of a community and supporting your people. When Burnley wins, my people, my community, the town of Burnley succeeds. Us being a Premier League means that the town succeeds and has more money, and therefore it's actually a better town. So even though, yeah, Burnley will never win the Premier League again, and we will never probably win the FA Cup, if by God all means, if there's ever a chance that Burnley ever wins the FA Cup, but even the EFL Cup, I will almost die from happiness. Because Burnley winning one EFL Cup in my entire lifetime would mean 1,000 million times more than me just deciding to be a United fan and then winning the Capital One Cup or the Premier League. Because there's two different types of communities. There's communities in your local area, but communities you see online. That's why most people online that may support Liverpool, United, City, they want to get involved in conversations online. They want to be part of a Twitter group or Instagram group or TikTok group, or their friend is a fan of Chelsea, so they are too. Sometimes it could be different. Sometimes it could be due to very strange reasons to some people that people may not understand. Like, I really like the colour blue, so I really like the colour of City's home kit. I went to Canada 2 weeks ago and I met a lad that I asked, oh, who you support? He said, oh, City. Why? Oh, I like their colour. That was genuinely the reason, and that was why he liked them, apparently. Some people choose to players. If you are from, let's say, a country that is a more niche kind of country, if you're from Czechia, for example, there's a lot of people here that are Chelsea fans because of Petr Cech. From when I lived in Poland, a lot of people you would find are Bayern Munich fans or Borussia Dortmund fans because of Robert Lewandowski, or of course Blaszczykowski or Piszczek at Dortmund. If you're from a medium to smaller nation, you kind of follow where your biggest players are. I can guarantee you that, let's pick Hungary as an example, that's when Szoboszlai went to Liverpool, a ton of fans now become Liverpool fans because of him going over there. But this is the thing I must insist. If you switch teams left and right, then this is in the most nice way possible. You clearly don't really care about football that much, and you probably know about it. And I want you to tell me your thoughts down below. Football shouldn't really be about trying to ostracize or kind of gatekeep a sport or a club from someone. If you want to be a United fan and you're from Australia, or in my opinion, which I think is not right, because I wouldn't do it, but you live your life, bro. If you're from, let's say, Hull, and you decide to be a Liverpool fan, I personally wouldn't get it, because there's a decent club right by your doorstep, which is your community. However, if you want to be a Liverpool fan, be my guest. But love of God, don't tell me next year that you then would be a Chelsea fan. Of course, there's times, though, that it does change, because a lot of it comes down to your parents. Like, as a Burnley fan, and I live in Czechia, if I stay in Czechia or stay in Poland, my kids will still be Burnley fans. And if I, let's say, move anywhere else in the world or anywhere else in England, my kids will still be Burnley fans. And that's a huge part of it as well. The amount of United fans I've met in my life, and, you know, one's from Birmingham, and it's like, why do you support United? They're like, oh, my dad did. And when you ask his dad, he's a full-blown Brummie. And it's like, how far down the line does this go? But I guess it doesn't really matter, because usually you support whoever your dad or your mum decides for you to support, because that's who they want to support. I'm not going to force my kids to be football fans. If they don't care about football, they live their own life. But it doesn't mean that they can support another team. Just, if you don't care about football, that's fine. But either way or another, you're a Burnley fan. And if you are a Burnley fan, I've done my job wrong. You don't have to go to games, but if someone asks you who you support, just say, oh, well, my dad supports Burnley, so I guess them. And I'm happy with that. But I've always seen this, like, put online. Let's say if you're someone from Scotland, you're a Kilmarnock fan, or you're a Dundee United fan, or whatever, right? And there's the idea that, well, you have your club from where you're from, but there's also, you have a preference, you have a club that from Rangers or Celtic, and you kind of pick between Rangers or Celtic and your other Scottish team that you actually support. Is that true? Because I know Scottish people, their loyal mental, like, anyone I ever met. I can't really imagine many at all being like, I support Killy, but I also support Rangers. I support Kilmarnock and Rangers. I find that nuts. And the same glory hunting conversation is even more deep over there as well. I love that in this clip on TikTok, they also mention about Elche. Like, if you're an Elche fan, you also have a classical team. You also have a Barcelona or Real Madrid. And my favourite comment is the guy saying, as an Elche fan, I'm an Elche fan, which I found quite funny, actually. It's like if you're saying to me that as a Burnley fan, like, do I have a team that I want to win the Premier League? Like, I mean, I could have a preference, but I don't support them by any means. Just because I lived in Newcastle 2 years doesn't mean I support Newcastle, but I hope they do well, because I know the people there. I saw someone saying that glory hunting is just sad, and I wouldn't say glory hunting is sad. I just think it's not as fulfilling, personally. But I think I would only feel that way if they are from the UK and they're supporting a team which is nowhere near them. If you're from another country, you support a Premier League team, then that makes more sense to me. But if you're from UK, you're from Birmingham, you have no affiliation to, let's say, Liverpool, but you support Liverpool, I think that's just a bit odd, personally. You live your life, but I wouldn't do that. Remember when West Ham won the Conference League and people try to look down on West Ham for celebrating in the way they did? Saying, oh, what do you mean? It's just the Conference League. It's not the Champions League. It's like, are you actually stupid? Like, are you actually stupid? I'm trying to say to a West Ham United fan that they should not celebrate as much for winning the goddamn Conference League just because it's not the Europa League or not the Champions League is everything that's wrong with football. I'm sorry, mate. You're stupid. For me, football is about representing who you are, your people, if it's with your family or if it's with your local community. That's what football should really be. It shouldn't be took that seriously, but I think there's a sense of pride in it. People take it more serious than others, and that's completely fine. I think there is a difference between if you are, let's say, a Liverpool fan that is from Liverpool and not from Liverpool. If it's something that goes there week in, week out, and you live the life and you're there a week and you're there in the community, I do think there's much more of a feeling there for when you win something, because that is actually involving your people. I do think there's a difference. I do think there is. However, that's not stopping you from supporting that team, but I do think there's a difference in feeling to supporting a team if you're from that community personally, or if your parents are and that's where you're from. Hey, I'm not going to control your life, but I will say this though, just don't switch teams every single year. You look like an idiot. Enjoy your day.